Good evening, friends, and welcome to tonight's edition of Insight. I'm your host, Pat Gagliardo, and tonight we'll explore a very interesting topic, dreams and their interpretations. We'll also take your phone calls on the subject, and later on I will answer your questions. Remember, the number to dial in Connecticut is 1-800-443-TV26. Out of state, dial 203-444-2626. My guest tonight is a graduate from the C.G. Jung Institute in Boston, Massachusetts, and currently teaches there. He has written several articles on masculine psychology and instructs workshops in groups with a focus on dreams and alchemical psychology. Good evening, Dr. Joseph Cambray, and welcome to the show. Thank you so much for coming. I know that you came down from Providence, Rhode Island, that you have a private practice there. So we appreciate you making the trip. This is a very interesting topic, and I know that, of course, the first question on my own curiosity and that of my viewers is, what are dreams, and where do they really come from?
That's a complex question. The way I work with dreams, they are imagined as coming from a very deep unconscious center in our personalities. We have our normal waking personality, that the sort of I, the me that goes around in the world. And then every night, we know from the sleep research that we go through cycles of dreaming, 4, 6, maybe 8 cycles of dreaming every night, rapid eye movement. And we need to dream. The research shows that if people are deprived of dreaming, they actually lose touch with reality. Mm-hmm. If you let them sleep but wake them up during their dream cycles and prohibit that for them, they can't stay in touch with reality during the day. In fact, we probably dream all the time, even during the day, even right now. It's rather like an eclipse of the sun. That's the only time you would see it, except perhaps if you entered a quieter, more meditative state and began to pay attention to the processes of your mind. Mm-hmm. The way I look at dreams is they are, like I said, a communication from something that I would call the self, deep within us, that is trying to unfold. That over the course of a lifetime, if you look at a person's life, you see that there are certain directions that begin even in early childhood, and it's as if something, sort of almost an extra dimension is present that directs the life. And we find by paying attention to dreams and by looking at them, especially a series of dreams over a period of perhaps a year or 2 years or even longer, that we begin to get a very good feel for that, almost a map of what's being communicated, and we begin to learn how to dialogue with that part of ourselves.
You said the self. Let me interject here, if I may. What about the theory, and I know it's probably all theory, what about the theory that there are like 3 selves, and maybe the dream originates in like the subconscious, and it might make us act out something that's happened to us, say, even since childhood? How do you feel about that aspect of that theory of the dream state? And are there certain levels of the dream state as well?
Absolutely. In fact, maybe the way for me to answer that question is to talk about how we do dream work. It's not one thing. Mm-hmm. There are different aspects, and I think they have to do with the level of the psyche that you're in. I don't have a particular 3 self-state model, but I think this would overlap. I think the first layer is what I would call reductive, and what that means, it's about personal historical material that's in the dream. Oftentimes when we work at that level, we use what are called interpretations to help lift blockages to remembering things, and this is the area of emotional hurts, emotional wounds that we all have had, some more, some less. But what Jung found, Carl Jung, and those of us who've done that kind of work since him, have found that beneath that there's something else. We begin to find a collective dimension to dreams. That is, there are elements in dreams that are not just about the dreamer's individual situation, but they speak to larger social issues. In fact, they speak to cultural issues. And it's at that level that we see something that Jung termed the collective unconscious, that looks and appears in mythic form. It has a mythic structure to it. Now, it's not that we dream mythological figures as you might find in a Greek mythology text, but rather the patterns that are there and the emotions that are enfolded into those patterns are present in the dream, and if you get down deep enough, you begin to release those and the energy that's there, and that can be transforming for a person.
I understand that Jung developed the notion of synchronicity, and of course I want to ask you what that is, and does it have relevance to the dream work therapy?
Sure. Jung's notion of synchronicity was, it came out of his frustration with causal thinking, linear space-time sorts of notions, that things happen, especially when you do deeper analytic work. You begin to find odd phenomena that
Such as, could you give
yes,
some examples?
I'll give you a clear example. Actually, one of the things that put Jung onto this. He was working with a patient, and the analysis was rather blocked. They'd hit an impasse, and this person was very intelligent, could grasp all of it intellectually, but couldn't go further. And she presented a dream in which there was a scarab beetle, a dung beetle. And at that moment, when she presented it, there was a tapping at the window. And they were on the 3rd floor of Jung's office at the time. And it drew his attention, and he opened the window, and sure enough, it was a beetle. And it was a scarab beetle, which is not indigenous to that area of Switzerland. And all he did was he just picked the beetle up and handed it to the patient, and it broke open the analysis. It released an enormous amount of energy, and change began to happen. Now, there's no causal relationship between her telling that dream image and that beetle being at the window. However, there is a meaningful coincidence. If you think about the Chinese Book of Changes, the I Ching, it's based on exactly this. And in fact, Jung wrote a long foreword to that, that talked about the way the Chinese think is qualitative. We think quantitatively. We think in terms of number and quantity. But in the world before modern science, people thought qualitatively. Things were imbued with a quality that you looked at them. In other words, the color of something told you its psychological state. And what the synchronicity asks, and what the Chinese Book of Oracles asks, is what likes to be together, what likes to occur, what phenomena like to show up together at the same time.
I see. And how does the Jungian way of handling dreams differ from other psychotherapies?
Well, I think what is unique, especially if you go back to Jung's original notions, were twofold. One is the original notions of the unconscious were that it was a sort of a garbage heap where all of our discards were cast off, what we didn't want to face. And Jung certainly acknowledged that. But what he said was there also seems to be a spontaneous healing factor in the psyche that seems to be appearing in dreams. And this he connected with what I said was the self. And the way he saw this was, again, this what he called the process of individuation that occurs over a lifetime, and unfolding, so that dreams are really pushing us towards something in a larger context. That's unique to Jung's vision. He said that was actually an instinctual process. That's amazing. Like hunger, like the urge for sex. This was at that level of our being, this urge to fulfill ourselves.
In the therapies, what do you do with persons who can't remember their dreams? And what do you say, or what is the theory why they can't?
Well,
now, I'm not speaking of nightmares now. I'm speaking of just the dream state.
Yeah,
we'll talk about that a little later.
Yeah, many people initially think they don't remember their dreams or say, I've never dreamt. I think many people I find now are educated to REM sleep and know that they, in fact...
REM meaning rapid eye movement for our viewers.
Yes,
thank you.
Thank you. When people, there are techniques that one can use to help facilitate. I mean, the first thing is that sometimes people feel that if they don't produce an entire narrative, they haven't dreamt, which is utterly fallacious. Some of the richest things I have seen have been one-sentence fragments that have come, and they're just packed with meaning. So the first thing to do is to help a person feel more comfortable with what they're actually remembering. Sometimes it's just a vague, fleeting image. Sometimes it's just a sound or a voice.
Okay.
And what we help them do is cultivate that. Some techniques that can be used to do that are, the first thing I have people do is resume the position they were in when they first woke up. It's amazing how that'll act as a trigger to get us right back into the dream state. Not to rush out of bed. If you get out of bed and go and take care of morning chores and and eat, they're gone. They evaporate.
I heard another theory that allegedly, our dreams take place like 13 seconds or so before we awake, or a dream, in fact, is only like 7 seconds long. Is there really any real, I mean, what kind of basis is there to this? I mean, is that true? I mean, and statistically, how do you do it? Do you actually work with people who are, you know, do you work with them in the dream therapy where they're wired up and you watch what takes place through the different depths of their dream, of their sleep states?
No,
I do want to get into this a little bit with you.
Sure, that's sleep research. That's not.
Okay.
That's not.
But there is a connection, though.
Oh, absolutely. And what you find in the sleep research is that as you approach the morning, you cycle more rapidly. And actually, if you look at the dreams, if you wake people up after their REM states, after the rapid eye movement states, the dreams in, you know, early in the night, in the deep part of the night, tend to be deeper into the psyche. They tend to be less personal and more of this archetypal nature. That's the sleep research piece. I don't think that there's a lot of evidence that we dream at all in a flash.
It appears, you know, from your own experience, of course, that a dream is like all night long, where in actuality it probably is only a few moments. I want you to hold on to those thoughts. We do have to take a break now and hear a word from our sponsors. So remember, the number to call, all of you out there, is 1-800-443-TV26, and out of state, 203-444-2626. Stay with us, please, and we'll be right back. More coming your way. Thank you. Hello and welcome back. You're watching Insight on TV 26, and I'm your host, Pat Gagliardo. And I implore all of you now who are on the lines, I implore you to be patient. And I promise to answer some mail here on Insight tonight, too. And I will get to your phones, and you will have the opportunity to speak with our guest, Dr. Cambray. But there are just a couple of things. I do want to ask you, Dr. Cambray, what the training we were talking about a little earlier about Jungian therapists, what exactly does that entail? Can you give us somewhat of a synopsis, please?
Sure. At our institute in Boston, we have two phases. The first phase is more of a theoretical phase, and during that you go in depth into the study of myth and fairy tale, and understand how that level of the psyche can be applied clinically. The second portion of the program is where people begin to work more in depth in their cases and begin to present analytical cases to supervisors and who help them find the deeper meanings in their cases. It's a program that it's a minimum of about 5-6 years. We find that it usually takes 8 to 9 years.
And you do offer classes and workshops for persons, too, on dream therapy, correct?
Yes, so absolutely. We have a public seminar program that is open to the public, and it's at a nominal cost.
Okay, very good. And what about symbolism in dreams?
Well, that's our forte in Jungian work. We feel that the symbol really, as Jung understood it, he said that the dream was the best representation of the unconscious at that moment in time. It was a picture of what was going on. And that it presented in symbolic form. Now what I mean by symbol, it's not an allegory. It has some mystery in it. There is a part that you can't fully know, and that's why this is the best representation. And you can enter into relationship with that symbol. It's not just a cognitive, intellectual understanding, but it has to become a living experience. And
a little earlier in the program, you said that you also felt that through dream therapy, that perhaps the dream was taking you somewhere, like maybe toward a prospective goal in one's life, could be through dream therapy. Okay, what about a nightmare?
Well, there are a couple of different kinds of nightmares. I should discriminate. There's something called stage 4 sleep that produces what's called night terrors. These are usually not...
Night terrors?
Night terrors. Stage 4 sleep. They are not imbued with visual images. They're not what I call the usual dream state, but people wake up in a terrified state, and it's often mistaken for a nightmare. When we have nightmares, usually what's happened is there's been something traumatic that's happened to a person, or that the trauma is coming from the inside because something's being blocked. It's as if a dissolution of something has to occur, and the nightmare is a rather caustic solvent.
I see. And how do you feel about dreams being prophetic?
That's a very tough question because certainly it's true. At times, dreams do seem to suggest a future event. Sometimes people do find the next day that things are occurring as in their dream, or at least an aspect. But we never know when and to what degree. And so I think to try to say, well, means this is going to happen is a dangerous and slippery path. Rather, I think it says these are the possibilities.
Okay. And finally, on my own curiosity, before we go to the phone lines, what about déjà vu and dreams and precognitive experiences?
I think there's something there, what you're talking about. It's a very deep phenomena. It's as if the psyche knows this place, that the conscious mind doesn't know it. And I think what that means for me, I have to understand it psychologically. I don't know what it means in a larger metaphysical context, but I think psychologically what it means is that this place is charged with meaning for me personally, and that I need to get to know it a whole lot better.
Good, and I hope that you're going to do that. Scott, thank you for your patience. You're on the lines. We got with Scott from West Hartford.
Yes, I have this, like a reoccurring action that I have in my dreams. It's almost like I levitate. It sometimes helps me get out of a bad situation, or sometimes, I guess if a dream is a little bit boring and I need to get from one place to another, I actually can float, which is a lot faster than walking. I was wondering if that meant anything. And also, when I do that, I know that I can't fly or levitate higher than like the treetops, because if I do, I fall and I wake up. So I make sure that I stay nice and low when I go from like A to Z. Do you know what that means?
Well, let me start off and say that what you're talking about, I think, is a variety of lucid dreaming. That's where a dreamer can become conscious in their dream that they're dreaming. And at that point, they can exert a certain measure of control over some of the phenomena in the dream. It's not a method that I particularly use, but you can certainly find a lot of material on that. To answer your question more specifically, though, about what might be going on for you, I would think that part of what you're doing is you want to make sure you don't get too ungrounded. You don't want to go over the trees. We'd want to just play with that a little bit symbolically. And maybe feel like, what is it like at different places above the ground for you? To go into each one of those feelings and stay with it a little bit. What is it like to be at the, get a bird's eye view of things?
Thank you very much, Scott, for calling.
Thanks.
Okay, Cecilia from Plainfield, go ahead, please.
Yes. I have had three dreams in the last 3 months about wedding gowns. And I've been married 35 years, and I have no idea why I keep dreaming about having on wedding gowns. It seems a little bit, a little bit odd. And I'd like to know why this is so.
Well, there I'm going to move towards the symbolic approach, because I think when you're talking now, I assume that this is a very deep and a rich marriage that you're in, if it's lasted.
Yes, I'm very happily married, yes.
So that there is perhaps then not an outer marriage that's being forecasted in this dream, but an inner marriage. That there's something in yourself that needs a deeper union that's calling you, I think. Some part of yourself, perhaps, that you've been a bit estranged from over the years, that now perhaps things in your life have gotten to the place where you can begin to look at some of those things, new possibilities.
Yep. Well, it just confused me because I cannot see myself in wedding gowns continually, and I just kind of didn't understand it.
Well, I would say that there's a marriage to be celebrated yet.
Thank you very much, Cecilia. Thank you for tuning in and phoning in. Thank you.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Shane from New London.
Hi, I had a question about dreaming in black or white or dreaming in color, and if you really do dream in black and white, or you just remember them in color, or...
Well, the dream research on that shows that women actually tend to dream much more in color than men, and part of the thought on that is that probably women in our culture have a much more experience with their feelings. I mean, that's changing at this point in culture, but that's still something I think that's a holdover from the past. And there's a richness of emotional life for women, and that's part of what the color is about, I think. Often, if you look at dreams over a long period of time, you will find a mix of black and white and color. And well, I can't say anything in general about that. When I'm working with somebody individually, I will note that those shifts are probably important. In other words, if somebody's dreaming in black and white most of the time, and suddenly they dream in color, something's animated.
Something significant. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You're right.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Shane, and have a nice evening. Go ahead, Marilyn from Willimantic.
How you doing?
Good evening.
Okay. I had this I've had it for a lot of years. It's a weird dream about a trailer on a beach, and it's got a whole bunch of woods on the. It's like almost like a waterfall on the other side of it, and there's a whole bunch of well, I wouldn't say too nice people in it, and I'm living in it. It's a really weird dream, and I've had it for like almost 20 years.
It sounds like there's a lot of longing in that dream to get to another place. My sense is that you're in a situation that feels a bit cramped, that there's beautiful surroundings, but somehow or another where you're living doesn't allow you to fully realize that potential.
You think I have potential that I don't know about?
Well, I think that waterfall is about something.
Yeah.
There's a lot of energy in a waterfall.
Yeah. And that is right. Yeah, it is right there. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Marilyn, and good luck to you. Remember that there are classes, and you can write to me at Insight, Post Office Box 425, Jewett City 06351, and I will see to it, if you enclose a self-addressed stamped envelope, viewers, that you get some information from Dr. Cambray on these classes and courses, okay? Just remember to include a self-addressed stamped envelope. Thank you very much for tuning in and phoning in to our guest. And I want to thank you again, Dr. Cambray, for coming. Thank you so much for coming down, and I hope you'll think of coming back again.
Enjoyed it.
Thank you very much. Everyone, don't go away. We'll be right back, and we're going to come back and answer some mail and answer your phones intuitively, so stay with us. Hello and welcome back. You are watching Insight on Channel TV 26, and I am your host, Peg Gagliardo, and I implore all of you who are on the lines, I really implore you to be patient. I promise to answer the mail here on Insight, so I intend to answer some of that mail here tonight, and then I'll go immediately to the phone line, so please bear with me. Now, this first letter that I received is from Lisa G. out of Westerly. Lisa, you asked me if you should sell your business and if you were going to have another child. Well, I know that business has been very, very slow, and I know that there's been some frustration and some agitation in your family. And I really feel that your husband works very, very hard and works a lot of overtime. I feel as though there's been a real break in your communication that concerns me. I think that either he or you should go down and investigate. I kept going south, so I'm assuming toward Florida. That's what came to my mind. Should investigate. I do feel that the financial pressures that you're undergoing, unfortunately, will probably stay with you for some time yet to come, within at least 1.5 years to 2 years. But I also felt in that time that you will be looking more to be settled and probably want to put into motion having a second child. Thank you very much for writing, and continue to watch every week. Now, this is for Mr. and Mrs. John S. You asked me about a new position for your husband. And as I looked at the photograph that you sent me, actually what came to my mind more importantly, that took actually priority in your questions, was your husband's health. These heavies, if I may say so, are really causing him a lot of inner turmoil that he is not verbalizing, and this concerns me. My honest impression was, because of the uncertainty, I just believe that John should remove himself from this involvement completely. It is very unhealthy. Look for new endeavors, because I feel that 93 and 94 both are going to be more upheavals in your lives, unforeseen circumstances. But his health is a concern to me, and I really think that that should be priority. The next is from Carol C. out of Westerly, Rhode Island. I want to thank you so very much for your wonderful compliments and your support. The letter brought tears to my eyes. Thank you so very much, and God bless you as well. The next letter comes to me from Mrs. S. in Coventry, Connecticut. You asked me about your spiritual path, and it gives me great pleasure to talk about that because I can only speak to you from my own experiences in these 15 years that I've been in this practice on my own growth and my own positivity. And it's so very important to take charge of our lives and not have other people do it for us. It's okay to have them open doors and explore new avenues for us, but actually we must take responsibility. So I know that you have an interest in the mystical field and the paranormal field, but I want you to be certain about yourself first. More security within yourself, more self-confidence, more self-esteem. I felt that you needed a better image. You didn't ask me this in your letter, but I felt that you're battling about your weight. And not only can I tell you that psychically that I understand, but you have my sympathy. I go through the same ups and downs. You would be an easy target because of these insecurities that I felt with you to allow people who are controlling and forceful to take charge of your life and to manipulate you, and that gave me great concern. There are a lot of power-hungry people, and you have to be able to discern the difference. You have to feel secure and strong enough within yourself to know that difference, and you're not in that place yet, but I know you're working on it. Please look more to self-improvement and maybe some retreats. Get away if you can. I know your finances are tight, but make it a priority. Sometimes we can't afford not to do certain things. There are certain retreats that can be sponsored by reputable religious organizations, maybe your own church or other church affiliates, so please look into that. And then let me hear from you again. I'd like to hear from you again probably, maybe around the first part of the new year of '94. The next letter comes from Teresa G. in Kensington, Connecticut. Oh, God bless you. You tell me you're married 37 years. I'm sorry to hear about the unfortunate death of your husband, but I feel as though you must look back on those years with a lot of fondness and happy memories. Don't bury them. You need to keep them alive because you're in a desperate situation sometimes, and I feel loneliness is very, very strong in your life. And I kept getting the name Irene. I didn't know why the name Irene came to me, but I'm sure that you do. And I felt that there is a friendship and that she will encourage you to be more socially active. Listen to her, please. And your husband, I know that he would want that same thing for you. I do not feel another commitment in your life right away, but within 2 years I did feel a companion and some travel, not extensive, but some. Christine from Danielson, you asked me about career and relationship. Education, career changes are coming within the late '93, early '94. I feel you need to be in the health field, something to do with books. Marriage, well, it's been discussed, but no definite plans yet, and something coming within 2 years, and a lot of changes, but positive. And stay with us. We're going to take another moment, but there's much more to come, and I'll be right back with you, so don't go away. Hi, and welcome back. I'm going to read the rest of the mail, and then I'm going to go directly to the phone line. So those of you who are waiting, please be patient. I'll be right with you. The next letter comes to me from Karen P. from Old Lyme. Karen, you asked me about relationship. And first, I want to thank you for the wonderful compliments and the support of the program Insight, and for the feedback that you gave me in your letter. As for the 4-year business and personal relationship with this Mr. R, you are not telling him in depth, I felt, your anxieties and your frustrations of what your expectations are in this relationship. You're skirting all around the issue, and I felt that was due to fear that maybe if you felt that you did, that he may not be open or receptive, and maybe the response would be negative and that maybe he would walk out of your life. Well, after 4 years, you should already know where that relationship is. And it doesn't take me to answer you intuitively to understand where that relationship is broken down. It's definitely in communication and expectation. But I also felt that he is very uncertain about making a marriage commitment, and you need to probably talk to him in depth about that. But I also feel that your relationship at this time is, at some times, is really comfortable and very enigmatic, and at other times I feel that there's a very big barrier, and that's probably due to what he senses from you and what he feels that you want that he can't give you. And rather than have all of this discomfort, lay your cards on the table and just discuss it. I think if you had somewhat of an insight from him that even in the future, 2 or 3 years down the road, it could go somewhere, that you would want to expend a lot more time, energy, and effort into it. But there's too much uncertainty, and there's a lack of trust. You didn't ask me about it, but I certainly did feel it. Regardless of the end result, you need to talk to him now, even if it results in a parting of the ways, and that could very well happen. 80% of the impressions led me in that direction. Patience and trust and understanding should be a very vital part of any relationship. To me, the most important ingredient, of course, outside of being drawn together physically, there has to be a nurturing process. Two people need to really pull the best out of one another and nurture that. When you have to start competing or start making demands, a relationship is already in trouble. And if trust isn't part of that foundation, it's never going to work. And I also feel that that is certainly the case in this particular scenario. So I wish you good luck, and I hope that you'll take this advice to heart, because I don't want to hear from you another 4 years down the road and be going through the same thing. And the next letter comes to me from Helen S. out of New London. You asked me about a mobile home or a small house. And I did sense a trailer coming to you within 2 to 2.5 years. Something was telling me when looking at your photo that there were some loose ends, some things that you had to take care of before you could actually probably sell the home that you have now and then go into your mobile home. So that's why I felt that time frame. Something also came to me about a job with a lot of paper shuffling and people medical, but not like doctors or diagnosticians or labs, some other kind of medical involvement. Perhaps something else in the health field, maybe working with insurance or something. And outside of that, I didn't feel anything of a real problem for you as far as significant health problems leading to, an imminent or eminent death or shortening longevity or anything. But I did feel your blood pressure being either something looked at, and no fatal illness. Thank you for writing and continue to write. The next letter comes to me, Peter L. from East Hartford. Thank you for your compliments and support. You asked me about your career, your finances, and relationship. I know that you want to relocate, but you won't do that right away. I felt transfer of a job, probably within a 1.5 year time frame, transfer within the company or affiliates too. Some financial losses you have already incurred. I know you didn't tell me that, but I did feel that. And something to do with a poor investment. So don't let that happen again. One relationship has caused you a lot of emotional turmoil. You have to be patient with yourself, and within the same time frame of that, shortly within that time frame, within making a move, I felt you would be more secure and then have a positive relationship. So we're looking within that same time frame of 1 to 1.5 years. And finally, the last letter I will read is from Evelyn R. from Brooklyn. You complimented the program. Thank you. 21 children, selling your home and romance. Well, I felt a male friend, not a real commitment at this point. Health, I felt from you lower back discomfort and maybe something wrong in your hip or leg. And money is a constant struggle, unfortunately. And at least 2 more years of trouble. I want to offer you some self-help, too, and doing some positive thinking. It's very, very necessary for you. Thank you very much. Keep your mail coming. Remember to write to me, Insight. Include a self-addressed stamped envelope. Post Office Box 425, Jewett City, 06351. Without further ado, thank you for your patience on the lines. Waterford, go ahead.
Hi, Pat. How are you tonight?
Good evening. Fine, thank you.
My question has to do with, I'm getting out of school in May, and I'm wondering if I would get a job right away and where it might be, or...
Unfortunately, first impression came to me, said not immediate, but I did feel something positive within maybe 2.5 months within that time. So it doesn't mean it'll be that long, but It could be. I did feel a little bit of travel, I will have to tell you that.
Okay.
That the particular field you're in, there's a need of mobility anyway, but I do feel you're going to have to broaden your horizon, so to speak, that you will have to go out of the parameters that you've set for yourself. Okay?
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for calling and thank you for tuning in. Go ahead, caller from New Britain.
Hi, how you doing tonight?
Good evening, sir. Go ahead.
Okay, I got a question with finances. I was wondering if you see any good finances coming to me in the future.
Let me say this. First impression tells me better or improvement, but to say really good, not for a while. Something to do with a certain job position, and then let me say hypothetically maybe like the entry-level position, but then within like a 3-month time frame, bam, bam. It's almost like I feel that it's okay, get your feet wet with it, and then just go for it.
Okay.
Within 3 months, you're going to find many changes and better. So the improvement will start and then just keep rolling. So not to worry. You're pretty good about your finances. You've had to be, so it's okay.
Okay, and I'm going on a trip in a month from now. Anything that I should know about that?
Nothing stands out in the way of anything to be concerned about.
Okay, great.
I feel okay about the trip. You might find some not so great weather, but outside of that, no.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Go ahead, caller from Norwich.
Hi, I was fired from my job about a week and a half ago, and I just wanted to know, would I have any chance of getting it back or getting a job soon?
I already sensed a lot of negativity upon you asking me that. I think I picked it up. I think I perceived it even before you finished your question. There's been a lot of undercurrent. I think the firing is like a almost a culmination of a lot of negative things that resulted in this final action. So I'd have to say probably not. Even if you took it to arbitration, even if you took it down and fought for it, unfortunately, no. There's undercurrent, other circumstances that I'm not comfortable with. So I think if I were in your shoes, I think I would pursue another field, another career.
About how long do you think?
It's going to be a while for you because I know that you're limited. And unfortunately, you probably have to fight to get some rewards through labor, getting some benefits. But I think you're going to have to do that, unfortunately, caller. I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you very much.
Hang in there, okay?
All right,
thank you very much. All of you who are on the lines, stay with me, be patient, because we'll be back and I'll be answering some more calls. Thank you. Okay, caller from East Lyme, go ahead, you're on the line.
Hi, Pat.
Good evening.
I'm looking into a career change, and I have a few opportunities that I'm indecisive about. I was wondering if you could, if you see something.
Okay, let me ask you a question. Does one of these opportunities, will this result in you making a change out of your present type of work or expanding, like being more in the way of delegating work and taking on more of a capacity of responsibility?
Yes, it would.
And will it also involve you to do a little bit more of travel? Not a great distance, but like, say, within 3 or 4 miles of where you would be the other way?
Yes.
Okay. Then I want to say this to you. Go with the other opportunity. I'll tell you why. There's a lot of depression in that voice that I heard, a lot of stagnation. I feel like you've been existing. You've been just kind of like robotically doing things very routinely, and you need the lift. You need the challenge, and you need the responsibility. I don't feel that it's going to be as rewarding right away monetarily. Okay, it won't maybe become lucrative till after a while, but go for it because it opens up opportunities for other things. So I think if that's the area that you've been leaning toward, then I would certainly encourage you to do it.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, caller from Norwich, go ahead.
Yes, good evening, Pat.
Good evening.
An event that is happening in the next 2 weeks. Do you foresee it coming about?
I didn't hear your question, caller.
Okay, there is an event coming about in the next 2 weeks. Do you foresee it happening?
Yes, I do, and I think it's something that was supposed to take place before and got put off. But I don't feel that there's many people very happy about it. I don't know if this is a marriage between two people, some sort of a coming together of a few people, but I'm getting a resistance from other people involved. However, let me say this, be careful, because there's already alienation that's built, and I feel like you're right in the center of all of this. The best thing you can do is really try to be a neutral party and just be careful of what you're saying and what attitude is showing, because I feel as though it can cause a lot of resentment, and I don't want to see that happen. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
You're very
right
welcome.
on the button.
Thank you very much. God bless you and good night. Thank you.
Bye.
Okay, caller from Preston, go ahead.
Hi, Pat.
Good evening.
I was wondering if you could tell me what you see in the future as far as the relationship between my husband and myself.
It's not good. Your communication is definitely not good. And unfortunately, something happened that I feel there's a lot of agitation, and I'm probably picking that up from you. Something that you're not being able to let go of. Either a situation that happened, something that's been too much talk about it. I feel too much chattering, and I'm feeling too much gossip, and it should be left alone and try to be worked through. A lot of agitation here. This bothers me. If you haven't sought therapy, I'm going to do everything within my ability to encourage you to do that. And the best person to be talking to is him, not other people. You're not letting the situation rest. It keeps causing eruptions and a lot of discord. Please listen to what I'm telling you. I think you know exactly where I'm at with this.
Yeah, I do.
And if you want it to work, you really need to, really re-examine, re-evaluate how important is it to you.
Very
if it's important enough, exactly right. If it's important enough, talk with him, get an intermediary, a good therapist or an analyst, and work through it. Leave this stuff alone, because it's only creating discord.
And
he loves you. He loves you. There's just misplaced trust and misplaced priorities, and get them back. Okay?
And if we communicate, you do
if
see a
you
future.
communicate and you lay your cards on the table and both of you take the time, energy, and effort, it can be worked through. If I didn't feel the love, if I felt that it was total resentment, I tell you it's a lost cause. But it is not.
Okay.
Okay?
And what do you see in the future as far as employment for me?
Something's coming, but I don't feel full-time. For some reason, I don't feel full-time or in depth. Part-time and when you can.
Okay.
For some reason, I don't know. You should understand that, but be patient.
Okay.
Within the next 2 months, anyway. Thank you and good night,
Thank
caller.
you.
God bless. Go ahead, caller from New London.
Hi. I'm a writer, and I was wondering if you foresee me getting my first book published anytime soon.
Well, it depends on what we want to define soon. Do I see it in the next month? Do I see it in the next 3 months? Probably not. Do I think that there is definitely talent there? Yes. I do think it needs some polishing. I think it needs some, you need someone to help you format. If you haven't taken a literary course, I would encourage you to do that. I felt, too, a writing maybe more in like the third person type of thing. It's not an easy field to get into. I know that from experience. But I'm not going to discourage you in not pursuing. What I am going to encourage you about is patience. Believe me, it's not an easy field. And if you don't have a literary agent, then by all means, look into one. And if I can help you, write to me, because I do know a couple.
Oh, yeah, that would be very helpful.
You definitely helpful, because they will not take the time to read a manuscript.
No,
so
I
you
know.
need someone to open the door for you. Write to me, and I'll see what I can do to help you.
Do you foresee a certain Capricorn in my future anywhere?
In and out, my mind says, meaning there, not there. So it might be somebody you already know or involved with, but it's not suitable, it's not compatible, not comfortable.
No.
So I'd say long-term or committed, probably not.
No, not
Okay.
looking for committed, just kind of there
Friendship,
somewhere.
yes. And that's as far as I'll go with that.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
God bless and good night. Go ahead, caller from Lebanon.
Hi, I've got a good job with a major corporation, and been working there for about 5
Yeah.
years. However, recently I started working hand in hand with a consultant at the
Okay.
company. And I think he wants me to work with him.
Yep, and I think you're probably 155% right. He knows the potential. You have a lot of enthusiasm. You don't express it, but nonetheless, it's evident to me. And I read from energy. I don't read from what the norm is, I guess you could say. And you are excited about this prospect too.
Very
much. Yes, I know. And I'm going to tell you, just bide your time. It'll be okay. It's going to move right along for you. It's going to be just like you fell right into it. And God bless, because it's really going to be wonderful for you.
We had one more for you. We're
Quickly.
thinking about a child. Do you see any children in our future?
Something tells me there's a problem or an inability right now. That won't always be. Unfortunately, I can't feel it right away. But I'm not going to say no. Let's see what comes down the road a little past a year or so. There may have to be some procedures or something else in the interim, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you. God bless. All of you who are on the lines, don't give up hope.